I grew up playing mostly Nintendo consoles and occasionally PC games, and it wasn't until my brother and I got an Xbox 360 that gaming started to become a more serious hobby. Foundational games from that era that appealed to my tastes include Oblivion, Mass Effect, Call of Duty 4, Fallout 3, Halo 3, and Gears of War. I had briefly played all of these at friends' houses before owning them, which helped to mythologize them in my memory somewhat. It has now been very odd to revisit Gears of War Reloaded for review and remember that it's a quaint game. Gears of War is responsible for my love of third-person shooters. I don't care if waist-high barriers all over don't make any sense. I love bouncing wildly between them and hip-firing an enemy into gory bits. 11-year-old me was giddy at the idea of a chainsaw bayonet, but probably didn't register the commentary on militaristic fascism until years later. Like the other nostalgia-laden games of my formative years, the Gears saga has become mythologized, but Gears of War Reloaded is a reminder that it had relatively humble beginnings.
Gears of War Reloaded's campaign feels like a prelude. While the original Gears trilogy typically epitomizes an overtly masculine era of the gaming industry, the tone of the first game is actually fairly close to that of its initial iconic trailer, which is accompanied by Gary Jules and Michael Andrews' melancholic cover of Tears for Fears' Mad World. Compare the COG's mass mobilization in the intro of Gears of War 2, set to a rousing, bloodthirsty speech by Chairman Prescott, to the dark, filthy prison Marcus Fenix is sprung from at the start of Gears of War Reloaded. Where most shooter campaigns start with a tone-setting set-piece, Gears begins with a slow trudge through rooms and corridors littered with small-scale skirmishes. In my memory, the Carmine brothers stand out as prominent figures of the original trilogy, but Anthony, who I don't think is ever referred to by his first name in-game, dies quickly and unceremoniously from a long-shot bullet through the head in the campaign's first act. Anthony Carmine's greatest contribution to the game's story is saying, "Are you the Marcus Fenix? The one who fought at Aspho Fields?" It's an interesting tidbit that holds significant meaning for me as a longtime fan familiar with Marcus's backstory, but Aspho Fields is never mentioned again. This is a bizarre theme that resonates throughout Gears of War Reloaded. When wandering through a stranded slum, Dom makes a passing comment about looking for someone, hence his familiarity with the COG-hating outcasts. For anyone in the know, it's a clear reference to his missing wife, Maria, but the subject is never broached again. You explore the Fenix estate and discover Marcus's dad's hidden lab in the basement, yet there's no discussion about the absent Adam Fenix and his role in Marcus's imprisonment. Lieutenant Min Young Kim joins Private Carmine as Act 1 cannon fodder, used to emphasize the viciousness of prominent Locust war chief General RAM, who is also never referred to by name. Ram only appears in a few cutscenes, all of which have the sole purpose of reminding you that this dude loves to kill humans. Then he appears as the final boss, you kill him, and the game ends. There's almost no plot or character development in the entirety of Gears of War Reloaded's campaign that doesn't revolve directly around Delta Squad's immediate objective. It's a game almost entirely built on vibes and violence, and it somehow works really well. You see, Carmine recognizes Marcus and wants to know what happened at Aspho Fields. Dom says he's looking for someone, and you wonder who it is. Anya appears once at the very beginning and gives Marcus a pointed look, but you learn practically nothing about her, let alone her relationship with Marcus, even though she has voice lines throughout the game. You leave the Fenix estate with more questions than when you entered, but the mystery is enticing. All these dangling threads and halfway established plot lines would feel like a narrative failing if Gears of War Reloaded wasn't so good at selling you on the illusion. Humanity is on the brink of annihilation, so we don't have time for all of that right now. It has a wonderful impetus as you battle through ruined cities, into the boonies, underground, and back through the ruined cities, culminating in a mad dash to catch a runaway train carrying the incredibly named, badass-sounding Light Mass Bomb.
A great cover shooter, but an even better foundation.
The original Gears of War's compounding mysteries and lack of answers are likely tolerable, in part, because the game consistently forces you to engage with it. There's a great rhythm between sending rounds down range, hitting an active reload to not only speed it up, but also get a damage boost, and blind firing when you're hurt, using the bloody Crimson Omen logo in the middle of the screen as a makeshift reticle, a feature that Gears 5 abandoned, much to my chagrin. Gears of War Reloaded is a cover shooter through and through, and it is admirably conceited about that identity. If you do not use cover, you will die. And, at least on its tougher difficulties, Reloaded is not a game that will hold your hand, just like its gruff characters. One time, while escaping the prison in the first mission, you're told that flanking enemies is the way to go. Nearly every subsequent encounter feels like a cleverly disguised environmental and combat puzzle, making it more challenging to obtain this advantage. Despite Reloaded being a new release, it still essentially feels like a game from 2006. It's essentially a remaster of a remaster. The weapon pool is limited, and the enemy variety is even more limited. There are a few interesting gimmicks, like movable cover and some fun mechanics involving light, but even with a fresh coat of paint, Reloaded is just Gears of War, a game that came out almost 20 years ago. I kept trying to plant frag grenades on walls to serve as proximity mines, forgetting that that was a Gears of War 2 invention. I kept waiting for a grinder or Cantus to show up, but those two weren't introduced until later installments. To match the constrained scope of its story, which barely tries to reach beyond the confines of Delta Squad's mission, the gameplay variety is rather limited, which isn't necessarily a problem considering the campaign's moderate runtime. With the benefit of nearly 2 decades hindsight, it's easy to see that Gears of War was something of a foundational release, paving the way for its more ambitious and feature-rich successors. But that notion doesn't take away from a game that accomplishes what it sets out to do. This first foray on the planet Sera is just as captivating as it was in 2006, buoyed by weapons that have an extremely satisfying punch and interesting third-person shooter mechanics.
Gears of War finds a new home on PlayStation 5.
Gears has always succeeded in being visceral, the thunk of your character's back slamming into cover, the mechanical novelties of reloading different guns, the grotesque sound and spurting blood of a locust corpse that just lost its head but hasn't slumped to the ground yet. The PlayStation 5, or more specifically its DualSense controller, takes the experience up a notch. The adaptive triggers are used smartly. L2 only has to be pulled slightly to aim down sights before you meet resistance. R2 has a little more give, but still uses the trigger's full range to rattle while you unload a Lancer magazine. The haptics rev wildly as you tear a grub to pieces with a chainsaw, and thump deeply when you melee. Reload sounds and voices from the radio come through the controller's speaker. Gears of War Reloaded looks great in 4K and seems to run at a consistent 60 frames per second. Thanks to the Ultimate Edition touch-ups, Reloaded has more color than the original release, which stands out brilliantly from the still pervasive grays thanks to HDR support. Minor bugs were encountered here and there, but none necessarily soured the experience. Matchmaking was near impossible in the pre-release window, so this review will be updated with multiplayer analysis and a final score in the coming days. The campaign, however, makes a strong case for Microsoft to bring the sequels to PlayStation as well. While the original Gears of War is a bona fide classic that remains enjoyable to play through, Reloaded is somewhat perplexing as a product. Those who haven't played Gears before are left on a cliffhanger with myriad questions about the game's characters and setting, but no way to continue the saga. The bonus chapters, which were missing from the original 360 release but added to the PC version and the Ultimate Edition, help to flesh out a once truncated final act, but the first game still leaves you feeling like the best is yet to come. Gears of War Reloaded feels like a title brought to PlayStation for its convenience, and while I think it will be a hit on its new platform, it feels like a dead end for audience growth. PS5 owners cannot play the rest of the trilogy, let alone Gears 4 or 5. Gears of War Reloaded is a great, barrier-breaking debut for the franchise on PlayStation 5, revitalizing a classic third-person shooter, but also feels like a half step for Microsoft's new multi-platform approach to first-party releases.